Hello, welcome back to the Christ-Centered Farm. My name is Dayna. My husband and I post on this YouTube channel things about our off-grid lifestyle, our faith, homesteading, parenthood, and everything in between. So if you're interested, please stay, like, subscribe, and follow along. So in today's video, it's going to be obviously a sit-down talk. We're outside. It's currently raining, so you might hear that in the background. We're joined with my lovely daughter, Levavi. She is my world, and this video has partly to do with her. So today's video is going to be about my postpartum recovery. More so postpartum recovery, living off-grid. You know, because your recovery has to do a lot with, you know, where you're at and, you know, all those types of things, your environment, and it affects you physically, mentally, and everything else. So we're going to just talk about that, the challenges that have come along with it, and the blessings or the non-challenges. So she is 2.5 months old, so I'm 2.5 months postpartum. And the topics I kind of want to discuss in this video is how I've been doing mentally, how it's been physically, spiritually, and everything like that. So those are the three kind of main things that I want to talk about. So to start, basically just to dive right into it, physically, in the beginning, when I first got home, I was at the hospital for 3 days. I did have a C-section, so it was a different type of recovery than a vaginal delivery, and it was rough. I will say the first couple of days, you know, they give you Tylenol, they give you ibuprofen, but it was very painful, very sore, just to get up and lean up and try to like feed her and move around. It was very hard. So I ended up taking the hardcore drugs that they provide, Percocet, and it did help a lot. So after day 3, I came home. That day I took a Percocet before I had left the hospital, but it was horrible. They did give me a prescription of it that I could take home, and I did, because I thought I was going to be needing it. But that day I just had the worst headache of my life. We had just gotten home, a long drive. The hospital is like an hour away from us where we live, so it was a long drive, and I was just so uncomfortable. I was in pain, but then I also had this enormous headache and this newborn to take care of. So it was not fun, and those first couple days were really rough. So I stopped taking the Percocet. I didn't take it a day more after that, just because it was so hard. But then, because I believe one of the side effects for taking those things is a headache. But it wasn't just like a little headache. This was like an intense headache. So I stopped taking that. But I was sore. I was uncomfortable. It was hard to get out of bed, you know, with that C-section there. So physically, first couple days, horrible. A couple weeks into it, I was still pretty sore. I did have help from my husband as he had 2 weeks off. I wish he got more, but he didn't. So I did have his help with things, which was nice, and especially being out here on the property with the animals. Of course, he took care of those things, because a little bit before the end of my pregnancy, I ended up staying home. So, you know, my job was to take care of the animals and things like that. And, you know, I couldn't do that recovering from a C-section. So he was able to take care of those things and also help me with things I needed in regards to taking care of the baby. So, physically, again, just to keep reminding myself of where I'm at, after he had went back to work, still a little sore. I feel like it was sore for at least about a month for me, I believe. Pretty sore. But then things starting to, like, even walking, like your stomach, it's hard to just, yeah, your stomach was really sore. And walking was uncomfortable. I would like hold myself and walk very slow. But you know, you're supposed to walk for a C-section, you know, it helps you to recover faster. So I would go outside, walk around, get out in the sun, vitamin D, and it was fine. So that part, the aspect of the C-section, was rough in the beginning, but got easier about it after a month. Another thing in regards to physical postpartum was breastfeeding. That there's a mental aspect to that. Thankfully, mentally, it has not been a struggle for me whatsoever. Breastfeeding and anything, I haven't had a hard time like that at all. The only thing is those first 2 weeks, and my sister told me, she's like, stick it out the first 2 weeks and you'll be fine. Those first 2 weeks were brutal when it came to breastfeeding. My nipples were so sore, cracked, like one side was like bleeding. It was just so uncomfortable. I dreaded like every single time I went to go feed her, and I did deal with a little bit of engorgement. So in the beginning, you know, I did hand pump some to help release some of that, and to get her to get a better latch. But I think what really helped me is, one, just sticking through it, biting your tongue and like clenching your fist, but then also nipple cream, nipple cream, nipple cream. I live by that stuff. That really did help. And then also my sister-in-law got me these Silverette cups that you can put breast milk in, or if you're leaking, you know, it'll already be in there. And then you put it in your bra, and that also helps with the soreness. So those two things is what really helped. First 2 weeks of breastfeeding was horrible, but stick it through, and if you can stick it through those first 2 weeks, at least in my experience and my sister's experience, you're golden. After that, I literally was like clockwork, I guess you could say. It got so much better. Every so often, here and there, it will be a bit sore. I just put some nipple cream on, and then I'm good, and it's back to better. She latched really well right away. She did really good. Thankfully, prayerfully, I wanted to breastfeed, exclusively breastfeed, just because, you know, one, can't really afford formula, and two, I wanted her to have what's best, what I believe is best for her, which is my breast milk, and I wanted to be able to provide that for her instead of us having to buy it elsewhere, which thankfully, prayerfully, so far I have, and I pray that that continues. I've even entertained the idea of selling breast milk, just, you know, because I stay home to make a little bit of extra cash. I know there's back and forth in regards to, you know, if it's immoral or not. I definitely think it's moral. You know, it takes time, it takes your energy, it takes money to do that. So that's a whole other discussion. But I would not just donate it just because of all the stuff that goes into it and the work that goes into it. So I am interested in that, and hopefully that will happen, prayerfully. She's getting a little antsy. But, so yeah, breastfeeding is doing good at this moment, and I pray my supply stays, you know, enough for her. I exclusively breastfeed. I don't pump. I did in the beginning a little bit to help with that engorgement, but I don't anymore unless, you know, I were to sell it. And I breastfeed on demand. So whenever she lets me know she's hungry is when I feed her. And then the next thing I want to talk about, so I talked about C-section, I talk about breastfeeding. And that's pretty much it with the physical that I've experienced so far. And when it comes to mentally, the mental postpartum recovery, I was a little nervous about, you know, a lot of people talking about postpartum depression and everything like that. And I didn't have that at all, thankfully, and so far I haven't. I know I'm only 2 months, but so far I haven't. And I've been doing really well mentally. I will say my husband went back to work after 2 weeks, and those first couple days after he went back to work were hard on me mentally, just in regard, and I almost feel guilt, you know, about it a little bit, but I know it's normal. Other mothers have talked about this, but just the idea that we're settling in, that life has completely changed. It's no longer just me and him. We now have a little girl, which is such a blessing, and I wanted it for so long, and it took us forever to get pregnant. But it was the Lord's timing and His will. But it was sad. I had a first few days of sadness, of just grieving bittersweetly that it was no longer just going to be us two, and from here on out, you know, we have this little one, and it's not just going to be us. And that was sad for me. You know, things were, you know, just adjusting to parenthood together, and me specifically motherhood. You know, I'm really consumed by her. She needs me 24/7. So it was a bit of adjustment mentally for us because, you know, we were just used to each other. And now our focus, especially my focus, is on her. So that was an adjustment. But the sadness and the kind of grief I felt of like what it won't be anymore was only a few days, thankfully. And then after that, that went away. Oh my goodness. I hope the camera got that. That little goes gassy. And physically, but also mentally for your marriage is getting out, I think. At 2 weeks old, we took her out. That's my opinion. I know some people might think that's too early. But that's what we needed. You know, we live out here in the woods, and we wanted to get out. I needed to get out. I think it's good for you mentally, too. I know some moms don't, especially if they're solely breastfeeding, they won't leave their house at all. Like 6 months to a year, I could never do that. Like, and I solely breastfeed, but I could not do that. When we went out in public, you know, I was experimenting with the cover-ups, and then also, what I found to be easier is just going to the restroom, sitting on the toilet, and breastfeeding her. Some places have nursing rooms, which are great, but other than that, I just go to the bathroom because it's a lot easier. For me at least, most of the time. I don't think it's appropriate or modest or respectful to just whip it out in front of anyone. I know it's a little bit of extra work to go to the bathroom, sit on the toilet, it's uncomfortable, but out of respect for my husband and for myself and for my faith, I'm not just going to whip my boob out in front of everyone without a nursing cover. But nursing covers for me are just annoying from my experience so far, so I just go to the restroom. But that's another thing, is like getting out was an adjustment as well. Those first few times we got out were a bit hard because, you know, it's different. You got to remember everything in your diaper bag. You got to remember, you know, I have to feed her and hold her constantly. And so it was a little bit hard and stressful those first few times. But I say to do it, get out there and go to the grocery store, go have dinner. That's what we did. We went and had dinner, and it gets easier the more you do it. And especially the more you learn these little humans and their personality, it gets a lot easier as well. And spiritually, honestly, I've been slacking a little bit in this area, you know, getting into my word and just praying in general. The last few weeks, my mom and my husband and I have all been reading and praying together, which has been nice. I do need my own personal time, and I have been in prayer. But getting my word, I found, was hard before a baby to be disciplined sometimes, but even more so now with a baby to be disciplined. But I need to kick myself in the butt because, especially having this little human that I'm in charge to lead her to Christ, like, it's so much more important at this point in my life because I'm responsible for another human. And my duty is to lead her to Christ. So me and my husband try to keep each other accountable by reminding each other to get in our word, to pray, to read to her, to listen to worship music with her, and going to church. We've gone to church a few times since having her, which has been nice, and has been good for us. But yeah, I think with most people, you know, postpartum and a new mom, a first-time mom at that, it's an adjustment. It's a beautiful journey, but it is an adjustment to these things, and it's not always easy. And I won't lie and say, yeah, I've been great spiritually, and been in my word every day and reading the word to her and doing what I'm supposed to do, but that's just not the case. And I feel like that's generally a lot of people. But we just gotta have support people around us to remind us to get in our word and be an example for our little babies, because even at this age, you know, even without them, you know, we need to be an example, but it's so much more important now, I believe. I feel like overall my postpartum recovery has been well. I've enjoyed it. I'm trying to think of anything else that has like come up or been an issue, but honestly, it's been great, and I already want another one. My husband's like, we need to wait, but it's been great. And living out here on our property off grid, honestly, I didn't think it would be totally easy, but I didn't think it'd be extremely difficult either. And it's been in the middle. It really hasn't been that hard. I would say the first couple weeks, you know, I didn't really bathe her. Well, I didn't bathe her for like a month, I don't think. And even before her, I didn't shower every day. That's a personal opinion. I don't think it's totally healthy to shower every single day, but that's my own opinion. But when we did, we would go visit family, or even at her first bath, and my first bath together with her was at a friend's house. And, you know, because I wanted to make sure my C-section was healed before, you know, I showered in the rainwater. So, you know, and then we would go see family, and we would shower there, bathe her there every so often, and that was completely fine and worked for us because we were already going there, so we thought, why not? It was never a stressful thing like, oh, I can't shower, or I can't get in the shower with her, you know, because we use rainwater and it's off grid and it's outside. That was never an issue for us. And if we needed to, we could go to a friend's house because they welcomed us to do so. But now we shower in our off-grid shower together, and it goes great. It's fine. It's awesome. You know, we use the rainwater catchment, and it's been great. Recently, and because I breastfeed her and I don't pump anymore, the first few times I pumped, I literally had to go to Walmart and clean my pumps in the Walmart sink. But I don't pump anymore. One, because I don't need to / want to. But then also, you know, I didn't really have a good way to clean dishes here on the property, but now we have a sink, and the water tank is hooked up to the sink, so you turn on the knob and it comes right out. Obviously, we use a generator, you know, to power that, and power the pump to be able to get the water out, but it works great, and it's awesome. And so now I'm going to be able to start doing dishes again, which is nice, and that comes another thing. We do have a fridge. We do have an AC unit. We do have a sink now. We do have our off-grid shower. The fridge has been great. We got the fridge like right after I had her. Like literally came home, and a couple days after we came home, we got the fridge. And that's been awesome to be able to freeze stuff and just have cold food and stuff to make. How we cook, I used to cook on a 1 propane eye. And I had to, like when you cook a meal, you know, you have multiple things. I had to cook one thing, clean it out, cook another thing, clean it out. And it was just really difficult. But now we have a 2-eye that is a plug-in electrical 2 eyes that I used to cook. And I have a little electrical skillet that I use. And that's been great as well. And made things easier when it comes to cooking. So that hasn't been really bad at all. I just sit her down when I need to cook, and it's been great. And what else? What else about the off-grid life? Literally, being off-grid has not affected my postpartum recovery in a bad way at all. Honestly, if you're worried about that, which a lot of my family, friends were worried about that, living off-grid, sanitariness, and everything like that, you know, not having these quick amenities like everyone else does, or like most people do. And you might be worried that it might affect you in a hard way. She's getting agitated. But honestly, it's fine. It worked out great. And if you have supportive friends and family near you and you're worried about it, I'm sure they'd be willing to help you out with the shower or food. I had a friend bring over food, and that was sweet. She brought over food for us once, and that was really awesome of her. But it hasn't been hard. You know, we have solar to also help power things, and we got a beefier AC unit that keeps it really cool, and that's been amazing because our other one kept it like bearable, but this one you're like cold, you got to cover up, and that's been amazing. So, and it also has heating, so I'm excited about that for this winter, especially having her, because we used to just use a propane heater buddy. You know, being indoors can be dangerous, etc. So I'm glad that this AC unit now has a a heating element to it. So I'm excited to try that out. But the Lord has provided, and with the little and what we do have, we're so thankful, and it's been great. And my husband's been great about setting all these things up and working hard to provide for us, because he works a full-time job and doing all the stuff that he has to do here. So it's honestly been great. So if you're worried about, this lifestyle, and you might be pregnant, or, you're worried about living off grid, because what if you get pregnant and have to have a baby? It's not hard. As long as you have a generator and family and friends and support, and, that's you can really get by even with less than what we have here. But we honestly don't have that much, and it's been fine. So, but overall, my postpartum has been great, and this little girl is such a blessing, and I'm so excited to have her and have her grow up in this environment, because, neither me or my husband grew up off grid, living in the woods. I mean, I grew up pretty redneck, but not like this. This is a whole different thing, and she's gonna grow up like this. I'm just so excited for her. So excited to see her run around with the animals and run around outside barefoot and just have a blast out here, and the contentment and the adaptation to not having these quick amenities. Because I will say, it is easier if you have these quick amenities. Hop in the shower real quick, go turn it on, you have this heater, you have all these things, you have a quick oven, you have lighting that you can flip on with a light switch, and it's just all right there and easily accessible and doesn't take a lot of work to get. Whereas out here, you got to work for these things. You have to set these things up. If something, you got to set it all up, and you got to turn this on and fix that on and put this on. But it's worth it. Living this lifestyle is not the easiest. I will say that. But it is the most rewarding, in my opinion. And it's been fine, me being postpartum with a newborn. It's been great. And we've enjoyed it. Right, honey? But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please comment, like, and subscribe. It would help us out a lot if you would do that. And we'll see you in the next video. You guys have a blessed week.